We're going to be taking an in-depth look at a violent rally that took place this weekend in Sacramento. It was kind of a face-off between two extremist groups. Things got pretty violent there. They were each calling each other fascists, but both groups were trying to shut down the opinion of the other with violent means, by any means necessary.
Well, definitely you could say that about the one group. They're actually called By Any Means Necessary, and they went there with the sole intent of shutting down the group, the Traditionalist Worker Party, who basically you could say they're a white Aryan supremacy organization. And they were going to have applied for permits, and they were going to have an event on the steps of the Capitol in Sacramento. And this group, By Any Means Necessary, showed up with sticks, apparently with knives too, because people got stabbed, and a face-off occurred. And they even said, one of their spokespeople actually got up and said in front of the cameras, "We're going to take militant direct action," she said, to quote her. And here you can see a young lady, it looks like she's going to get clocked in the head, and she's drug off after a guy just takes a whack at her. Totally ridiculous. And we're not even going to have a war of words at all. We're just going to start beating people up and causing this.
Yeah.
And this is something that the FBI, I think, thrives in, taking two groups opposing each other and putting them together. And who knows how they're promoted like this. But let's go back to this this one militant, Indepth. She was interviewed by ABC News, and she uses the words militant direct action several times in the speech. Here's that clip.
Our method is to build a mass, militant, integrated, anti-racist and immigrant rights movement. The Nazis and the fascists are dangerous. They need to be stopped and shut down by any means necessary. BAM is building and leading a movement that's committed to building militant, integrated, direct action to shut them down by any means necessary. But that's what it takes. That's what building a mass militant movement takes.
So, Leanne, not only is she advocating direct militant action, she's also a middle school teacher. She teaches at Martin Luther King Jr. Middle School in Berkeley. She's the humanities teacher for the 7th grade.
Wow.
So these are the people, and she took it off her Facebook page.
Educating your children.
Right.
This is why they come out of school, and you're thinking, who are these people?
Where did they learn this stuff? Well, this is their teacher right here. A bandage on her head, obviously got into a scuffle, advocating more violent action against people that they say this is hate speech, we're going to stop it. It doesn't matter, you know, there's no looking at it arbitrarily. It's just, this is hate speech, we're going to attack it. Pretty soon it's going to be, if you don't believe the earth is warming because of man, well, that's hate speech and we have to attack you.
Right.
Anything they could say is hate speech, and then they can go ahead and attack it because all they've done is go, hey, it's hate speech, so we're going to go after it.
And the irony here is that we are constantly making the argument that the First Amendment doesn't protect violent hate speech, and yet that's what they're coming to do, is by any means necessary, be violent, be militant. And
it's okay because they're in the right.
Right.
Because they follow Bernie Sanders. And because they don't like Trump. It's like anything they could think of, it's, oh, this is bad. Racist. We say it's bad. We say it's racist. So now we get to attack it.
Well, and their whole platform is like, it's racist if you don't allow completely open borders. You don't accept the fact that immigrants are here illegally, and they want us to live up to the American ideal, the professed ideals of freedom and equality for all the people that are coming here illegally. And that's insane.
Right. Deporting people is breaking up families. But hey, guess what? If I don't pay my income tax, I go to jail. That's breaking up the family. That's the government doing the same thing. But it's okay because I need to pay my income taxes in order to support this ridiculous socialist utopia that they want.
And speaking of paying taxes, they must have some sort of a 501c3 set up because you can make tax-deductible donations to their organization.
Right. And this lady, Indepth, she actually had on her Facebook page that she used to work, or she works at this school, and you can find it in their directory. She's listed in their directory as a teacher. So this is a middle school teacher basically advocating violence. Now let's look at the other side. You have this Traditionalist Party, which it seemed to be led by this man named Matthew Heimbeck. This is a guy who graduated from school in 2013 with a history degree from Townsend WSU, okay? Basically formed a white supremacist group there. He's traveling around. He kind of marries into the legions and tours Eastern Europe and has all these events. Now, he seems to be becoming really prominent in just a few short years.
Right.
The Washington Post has an article about him. Vice has done a profile on him. This guy's getting all the free press he can ask for. And you know, I was watching a video by a guy, his name's Spiro, I believe, with NewsBud, And he came out and started talking about how the FBI works to get these groups to fight each other.
Right.
The FBI has a history of having informants in the Black Panthers, in the Ku Klux Klan, and other white supremacist groups. They like to insert people into these groups as leaders, give them funding, give them money so they don't have to go out and actually work for a living. They can just kind of act as the de facto leader for these groups in order to gear them into areas where you would be creating violence, because the FBI thrives on stuff like this. The government thrives on stuff like this. They want to see groups fighting each other. Now, I'm not saying Matthew Heimbach is being paid by the FBI or it is an informant. I'm just saying the FBI does have a history of doing this. And you could look at it in anything. They were looking at Omar Mateen, and in fact, they tried to get him into entrap him before he even committed that attack at the gay nightclub in Orlando.
Yes, and we can look. COINTELPRO goes back to the 60s and 70s, of course. Paul Wolf documents it in COINTELPRO, The Untold American Story, and it documents the role that the FBI played in the Ku Klux Klan there. And he writes, however, Bureau intelligence assets were neither neutral observers nor objective investigators, but have been active participants in beatings, bombings, and murders that claim the lives of some 50 civil rights activists. So just like you're saying, that they weren't there to just be silent observers or to maybe make some suggestions of agent provocateurs.
They steer these groups into conflict.
Engaging in the violence and then getting propped up as leaders and public spokespersons for these groups.
Right, and before we get away from that, Richard Okoye, the only Asian American who held a formal leadership position in the Black Panther Party, was exposed as an FBI informant after an FOIA request. So, you know, it could be on both sides. They could be funding both sides. People don't realize this, that they're part of these groups and they may think they're doing it for the best intentions. But the leadership of your groups may be compromised. It may be steering you into places where you don't want to go. And all this is leading up to what's going to happen this summer. You got the DNC and the RNC in Cleveland and in Philadelphia. These are kind of North American, United States Rust Belt cities that don't have good economies, cities that are ripe for the type of rioting that could occur. And you've got, by any means necessary, saying they're going to make that happen. And a lot of their rhetoric in there is geared only towards Donald Trump. Donald Trump hasn't been in this race but less than a year now, just over a year. He's been running for president. He didn't create all the problems.
Exactly.
Okay? He's not the cause of all the racism in the world and all the bigotry and all the open borders, you know. But it's just like this is the only reason for their existence now is to stop Donald Trump.
And talk about the leaders,
funding these groups.
being the leaders being behind the groups, and that's it. It's like channel all of your energy, all of your anger, all of your hatred, all of our resources. We're going to go and attack Donald Trump at these protests, these rallies. Meanwhile, you know, all these Bernie supporters, they should have been going after Hillary Clinton and pointing out all of her scandals, but they weren't.
Didn't want to do that.
Their leaders wanted them to target Donald Trump.
Exactly. And that's where it all started in Chicago. And that's one of the hotbeds. So you're going to see, I think Cleveland and Philly are going to be insane hotbeds for what's going to go on this summer. And for the rest, you know, the rest of the presidential race. You know, anytime Trump makes a speech, there's going to be riots or attacks on people. We saw it all through California. California is just turning into a total hotbed. And that's why you saw this at Sacramento, which incidentally, the last Trump rally, there wasn't much going on. So there was something there stirring the people to conflict at this particular event. So it's really interesting how it just happened to happen magically overnight. They were even attacking camera people. Sacramento Bee had their cameraman and reporter attacked by this group, by the BAM activists. Right.
Well, and also, too, talking about just kind of controlling the agitation here, they knew that at the Trump rally, they're not going to run into your actual white supremacists who are going to show up there with knives, ready to stab and cut people. But at this particular event, they ran into people who were ready for a fight. That's the kind of agitation and noise that they were going to get.
Yeah.
And that's their whole purpose, is they try to make as much melee as possible in order to bring others into their group. Join us, and you too can be a little
fun. We're gonna have a great time.
Militant.
Look, I got to be on the news with a bloody bandage. This is what it's all about. This is what being American is all about, is causing strife and not looking at the world the way it really is, but looking at the world the way we think it should be and trying to steer it towards that. Incidentally, you can look at Matthew Heimbach's Twitter, and he's got a picture of all the guys with shields ready to go into battle. So they were ready for a fight. The other group was ready for a fight. I don't know who's steering who, but you could tell that there's going to be more clashes like this as we go into this. Finally, we're entering the summer of rage.
Yeah, the summer of rage is upon us. Well,